Hey there, I'm Sarita, and you're about to experience the modern approach to well-being where you get to establish the best and most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. I'm on a mission to help you declutter energy and reclaim your power so you can be a magnet to what you desire. If you're looking for the optimal blend of mindset and healing, you're in the right place. My goal in this podcast is to share tools, resources, and practices that will help you along your healing journey. I'm so excited to be here with you today, so welcome to Back to Here with Sarita. Let's get started. Hello, you. I'm so happy that you're here, and it's actually been a minute since I did a solo episode on my own. I think it's been since July this year, so about 4 months ago that I've had an episode by myself. And to be honest with you, I kind of sort of miss it a little bit because I love sharing my personal wisdom with you. But then again, as I reflect on the episodes that I've had with my guests, I absolutely love those as well. They're so stellar. We have some amazing, juicy conversations. So if you've not had a chance to listen to some of those, make sure and do so. And so since it's been a little while since I did a solo episode, I wanted to take an opportunity to reintroduce myself. If you are new here, welcome, welcome. My name is Sarita, and I am your lovely podcast host of Back to Here with Sarita, and it actually launched back in the beginning of this year, January 2023. And I'm not just a podcaster, I'm also a coach as well. And I help women activate their inner wealth, wellness, and abundance so they can manifest with ease. And so a lot of manifestation teachers will tell you what to do step by step. And however, I truly believe that it all starts with the self and our relationship to abundance. And in my most recent workshop that I did a couple weeks ago, Activate Your Inner Wealth and Abundance, I shared with you the most common abundance blocks that actually keep you from calling what it is you desire and how to actually become a magnet to what you desire. If you are called to transform your views on abundance and money, this workshop is for you. So make sure to go to saritawellness.com/activate to get it. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And so wealth wellness, like I said, starts with you and your relationship to abundance and its importance. And it's very important when it comes to manifesting. And we will be talking a lot more about that today as I dive into a very exciting occurrence that took place over the span of 6 months back in 2020 and 2021 when it came to manifesting 2 homes. If you were wanting to manifest a new home to live in, this is the episode for you. So during the end of the year, I see more people shopping for homes. And I recently read actually that the price of homes are at an all-time high in the last 20 years because of the economy. So having this episode to help guide you while you're in the search will actually be really supportive for you. Or if you have a friend that is on the house hunt as well, make sure to share this episode with them as well. So before I dive in, I want to reflect back on day 4 of Activate Your Inner Wealth and Abundance, where I spoke into how to become a magnet to what you desire. And I mentioned that manifestation is a few part process. And one of them is getting really clear on what you desire. The other part is being in relationship to the emotions or feelings that coincide with the thing that you want. There are a lot more factors that are at hand. However, those are 2 really important things during the manifestation process that I want you to keep in mind. So that being said, I wanted to walk you through the exact steps that I went through to manifest these 2 homes. And you're probably thinking like, why is it 2 homes in the matter of 6 months? So let me just give you a little bit of background of my story of why there were actually 2 homes in a matter of 6 months. I was in a 8-year relationship a few years back, and that dynamic had children that I was living with. And it was always my dream to move back to the beach with my partner at the time and live in the little beach house, just the 2 of us. So that was like the vision that I had, was just the 2 of us living in a cute little beach house. And I had wanted this for a good portion of the relationship. So I took upon myself to make this happen. I manifested our little dream home at the end of 2020, and we moved in during the New Year's holiday. And then unfortunately, that relationship was actually already on its way out. So in April of 2021, I decided I no longer wanted to be in that dynamic. And so I was in a position again where I needed to find a new place to live. And at first, you can imagine I was like really frantic to try to find a place. I don't know if you've ever broken up with somebody or are living with them. You can understand that it can be a little bit on the awkward side when you're both trying to support each other and like one person is moving out. So I didn't have a lot of time to kind of work through my heartbrokenness because in that moment, because I was so occupied with getting myself together for the move, I was initially like really, really worried, like how the hell am I going to find this new place? And then I decided to just turn inwards and come from a place of peace and knowing that something was going to come its way. And magically it did. It was the most unexpected way possible. And I'll tell you that story in a minute. Manifesting the second home in 6 months was probably like one of the most magical manifestations that's ever occurred to me. It was just a mind-blowing story. So I'm going to share with you the exact steps that I took to manifest these 2 homes. And there are a handful of human footsteps that I took, but also it came down to these 3 things when it comes to manifestation and manifesting the new home. I became a vibrational, energetic match to that thing that I really, really desired, and I trusted the process of what was to come through that process. So number 1, the first thing I did, which is part of a manifestation process, is getting really, really crystal clear on what it was that I actually desired to manifest. And I asked myself these questions. What kind of home would spark a lot of joy for me? Where could I see myself living? What part of the city would make me the most happy? And for me, that was a really, really simple answer. I always wanted to move back to the community of Ocean Beach. I live in San Diego, so Ocean Beach is this really cute little community because it was low key. It has restaurants, stores, and bars that I could walk to. Not to mention the beach literally was right there. And also, the type of home that felt good to me was a warm, sunny, inviting home with lots of natural light. So a lot of homes in the beach communities were actually rented by rental companies. And another thing that I wanted to manifest was to find a home that was privately owned and not through a rental company. I also wanted some kind of little yard where I could plant like flowers and have a little garden, because where I was living, there was just a tiny little patio and it was not working for me. So, and I also wanted, because this was something I had where I was currently living, and then it's not as common to have at the beach, was to find a place that had a parking spot, because Ocean Beach or just beach community means that there's a lot of parking on the street. So I just wanted to make it simple from when I was leaving and coming back home. So as you see, I was getting really clear on what it was that I desired before I started jumping in and looking on the search, right? I could have just gone online on Craigslist or started walking around the community and just tried to find something. But I wanted to get crystal clear. And a lot of times, often we skip this part. And this part is so important because when we get really clear on our intentions, that's when the universe delivers. And this is why this is so important in the manifestation process, is because our declaration to the universe means something. How can the higher powers that be deliver what it is that we seek unless we get clear on the simple question of like, what is it that we want? The simple process of ask and ye shall receive. And you can do it through prayer, you can do it through meditation, you can do it through scripting, you can do it through vision boarding, you can do it through any like journaling, any form, as long as you're very clear on what it is and your intentions for it. And so once I got really clear on my intentions, I wanted to become a vibrational match to the place so I could attract that. So let me talk about how exactly I did that. So I did a few things. Not only was I visualizing, when I was at home, not only was I visualizing what would it feel like to already live in a home like that. And so I saw myself cooking and dancing and reading and feeling the warm sun on my skin. And I also started to picture a place that was already mine. And so another thing I did, and I highly recommend this for you if you're looking at a community in which you want to live, I would drive to the place, to the neighborhood, and I would park and I would walk around the neighborhood of the area that I desired to move in. When I was walking around the neighborhood, I automatically shifted into the person that was a local, that already lived there. So I decided that I would grocery shop at the local store, that I would talk to the local people. I would walk around the residential areas in the homes, and not in the homes, but around and at the homes. And I would acknowledge that they were my neighbors already. This is such a great way for you to just embody the person that already lives in the area. Also, too, I found that walking around was a great way to see if there was any for rent signs in the community and where that I wanted to live. So in walking around, I felt like I was already a local as much time as I spent there. So on top of that, the energy of Sarita, the energy of myself, was already being transmuted into that area and communicating to the universe as well that I already live there and I wanted to live there and I already live there. So let's backtrack a little bit. So I got very crystal clear on what it was that I desired. Number 2, I got very clear on the abundance vibration. So being in the community, being a part of the community and walking around, being a vibrational match. So the third thing, the hardest part of the manifestation process I feel for humans is the trusting and the surrendering. And I know some people in my life that are very like low key and zen. And even then they have a hard time getting out of their heads when it comes to the when and the how. And so I want to talk about the how for a second, HOW. I said this in a TikTok video that I did on Saturday. And I mentioned how that I try really hard not to use the word how, HOW, when it comes to manifesting. Meaning a lot of people that are speaking heavily into manifestation will say things to you like how to manifest A, B, and C. And I personally really don't like using the word how when it comes to how to manifest. Let me break this down to you for why I say this. Even when it came to the name of the podcast, you didn't see the name of how I manifested 2 homes in 6 months. The reason why I don't use the word how is because I am not the person, I am not the entity that is making this happen. Why would I take credit for the how? I did my human footsteps, yes, to put in my energy, but I'm not the person or entity that made it happen. The universe or higher powers that be is always what makes it happen. So basically what I'm trying to say is the how is always left up to the universe. It is never us. So if I was to say how I manifested 2 homes, I didn't manifest the 2 homes. Like I put in the energy and effort, I put in the steps, the human footsteps, but I didn't actually manifest them myself. It was the higher powers that be. So that's a little mindset shift around when and how. The when is also left up to the universe. Its timing is way different than ours. And it's our responsibility to trust everything that occurs in the exact same way that it should. It's funny because because our human version of time is so much different than the universal energies of time. When the universe says right around the corner, it's because in the universal time, there is no time. And so it's literally around the corner. For us, when we hear right around the corner, we're thinking like a couple days, a couple weeks, like right around the corner. So just something to be mindful of when you think about the when and the how. And just a reminder, and this is the reason I call my podcast Back to Here, is just as a reminder to help you trust the process. One of the best things to do is come back to your breath in those moments when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and the emotions you're having in connecting to the thing that it is you're manifesting. So for me, at that time, I was trying to manifest a home and I was getting anxious because the end of the year was coming. And so I was utilizing meditation and breath work to help me get back to the place of regulation. For me, it's taking deep breaths and knowing that all things are working in the flow of the universe and everything is working for the highest good for all involved. I remember the first time around when I was initially looking for a home for myself and my partner, we looked at a few places and I started to get really discouraged because the places that I had seen or walked around in just did not feel right. And so I was getting to the end of my leash of patience. And one day, as I got into my car after seeing an apartment, I sat there for a moment just to ground myself. And I said to the universe, okay, something's got to give. Help me out. And as I drove home, I ended up looking up at a cardboard sign on a telephone pole that said, for rent, 2-bedroom. I did this like major illegal U-turn on the street so I could note the information. And as I was like writing it down on a piece of paper, I realized like my intuition said, this is your place. And I hadn't even seen it yet. So as soon as I got home, I called the number and introduced myself, and the owner mentioned she was actually showing the place that weekend. And I think it was like a Thursday at that time. So I told my partner, let's make sure you're available. We're going to go out and see it. And most of the time, my partner actually was not attending some of these places with me, but this was the first time that both of us walked together to see the place. So we were the first ones to walk in, and immediately upon walking in, the place presented itself. And it was warm, friendly, inviting with a lot of sun. And it had a yard. And I just knew it was ours. And we were fortunate enough to meet the owner immediately. And she really liked us. And even though there was quite a lot of people walking through as well, we were able to have like some one-on-one time chatting with her. At that moment, after we walked out and she handed us the applications, I got into this really big place of urgency. And I told my partner, I said, I want to give her the deposit that afternoon, because I'm super serious about that place. I had to trust in that moment, and I remember getting very anxious with my partner, and I remember just being like, okay, draw back. The universe doesn't need or like needy energy. You get to trust that this place is already yours. And so manifesting that first home was a really magical experience. So you can imagine my mixed emotions when I realized that I had to do the same thing over again 4 months after I moved into it. Remember, I mentioned how I moved into it January 2021, and it wasn't that much later that I decided to break off that relationship. There was a feeling of mixed emotions of excitement in finding a new place, but also fearful that it wouldn't happen again. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you before. When you have gotten something so good, you think to yourself, how the hell is it possible for that to happen again? Well, that was my initial thinking and continued to be my thinking for a while because I was in a state of panic to moving out. I remember texting all my friends to see if they knew anyone that was renting a room. I went on to Craigslist to find a place. I just remember being in the state of panic. And because of my financial situation, I knew that I could only commit to being a roommate and not actually find a place for myself because I wanted to continue staying by the beach. And so you can imagine living by the beach, the prices of places are a lot higher than they are inland. But for me, the most important thing was to stay in Ocean Beach. It was my non-negotiable. I had put so much energy and effort, if you remember, being a vibrational match to living in the community that I knew that I didn't want to move away. And so I have this very vivid memory of me feeling in this state of desperation and powerlessness. And I remember being at my desk one early evening with my head in my hands, and I just felt like I had just tapped out all my resources. I felt like such a complete loser. I had broken off my relationship. I had no place to live. I was not in the best place financially, all the while navigating my heartbrokenness at the time. I felt so alone. And I remember getting an intuitive download to message one of my friends just to say hi and to ask if I could come over. And I hadn't seen him and his wife for a while. And it was actually the four of us, myself, my partner, and then we used to do double dates every once in a while. And I didn't know why, but I ended up texting him to say hi and see if I could come over and hang out. And he immediately responded and he said, heck yeah, come on over. And so before I knew it, I was on my way over to his house. And he always just felt like a big brother to me. So it was very comforting to always be at their home, and they would always feed me. As soon as I remember walking into their house and sitting down, and as soon as I spilled the news of my breakup, I was given a big hug, a big plate of home-cooked beans, a beer, and a tequila shot. Totally like a Mexican's consoling offer. And before I knew it, I was knee-deep in conversation and laughter because that was just the way that he is that he would always just cheer people up through laughter. And I was having so much fun with my friends, I totally forgot about my concerns about moving out and trying to find a place. Well, it just so occurred in that conversation, and this was after, mind you, after a few tequila shots, that they both informed me that it had been their dream to actually get a little house by the beach. And it would be absolutely great to move all of us together to find a spot. And in essence, I would be helping them out by having a place if we were able to split it 3 ways. I couldn't effing believe it. I had been led to my friends and now current roommates to just hang out and talk and relieve myself of my stress and anxiety. And the universe had a bigger plan in place. I was so excited that my friends, whom I consider like big brother and sister, wanted to share a home with me, and most happily in the community that I already lived in and held so dear. And so as I came home that night, I fell into such a place of gratitude that the universe was working in flow and working so smoothly for me. And now it was my opportunity to manifest the perfect place, not just for myself, but for 2 other people. And so the next day I went back to the drawing board. Not that much had changed in what I wanted or what I desired to manifest. And so I did the exact same thing that I did before because I was following the same process that I did the last time. But the only thing that changed for me was that I asked the universe for this or better. So I went back to my 3-step process of setting the intention to manifest a new home and becoming a vibrational match or energetic match to that thing, and also trusting the process of what was to come. So I felt a sense of excitement as I had purpose back in my hands to manifest something. And I did all the steps this time, but I already knew that it was going to be easier because I already lived in the neighborhood of my dreams. I was already an energetic match to that home, so all I needed to do was expand on that. So when you're already an energetic match to something, like you're already making a certain amount of salary, so that's like your energetic match at that moment. You've already had the love in your life, you're an energetic match to that. So I was already an energetic match to an amazing home that I loved, and all I had to do was expand on that. And so every morning I would take a walk around my neighborhood. And one morning I was led to walk down the street, one street over from where I was living at the moment. And so most of the time when I'm like on my walks, I don't take my phone with me because I just like to be in the moment. I don't like the burden of technology or something in my pocket. And so as I was walking, I looked up and I noticed some people were doing some renovation work on this little small white house on a large property. And I noticed a for rent sign, and I was ecstatic. I looked at the sign and I realized that I didn't have my phone on me. So I decided to go super old school, and instead of coming back to take a picture, I decided to go really old school and memorize the number. And I realize now that in doing this, I was energetically investing myself in that place. I was communicating to the universe that this number, I was digesting it and putting it into my consciousness as a place that I really wanted. So as soon as I got home, I called the number and I was advised that I was interested in the place. And within a few days, my friend and I were invited over to check out the place. And I could not believe my eyes. The minute I walked in, I noticed how bright and sunny and inviting it was. The floors were being redone. The bathrooms were going to be brand new. There were all new appliances. There was even a backyard, and a huge backyard actually for Ocean Beach standards. There was a fireplace and there was even a barbecue pit. I couldn't believe the perfection of it. What was more perfectly aligned was that we were the first people to apply for the place. And I remember the owner, because it's privately owned, I remember the owner saying that she didn't advertise on Craigslist or online because she wanted people who were local and also loved the community and wanted to live here. And I thought, we're idyllic. We are the best people for this. After everything was renovated, we moved in a few days later, and this is where I'm actually recording this podcast right now. So you see, magic can happen over and over again. Remember how doubtful I was the second time around because I didn't believe something good enough could happen to me again. But because where I was, I had to be in the position of believing, meaning like I didn't have another choice than to believe something would come up. And since then, I have been able to manifest over and over again because I come from the place in believing that I am worthy enough to receive it. So there you go, love. There is my story around what I did to manifest 2 homes in the matter of 6 months. It's simple. It's so simple. I asked and I received. It has been so much fun sharing this episode with you, and it's actually really a fun, nice walk down memory lane to reinforce to me that like how all things are so possible when we just believe and we trust. If this episode resonated with you, I would absolutely love a review. I love being able to share this with as many people as possible, as many women as possible when it comes to manifestation. And then also anybody that is wanting to manifest their dream home. And in doing a review, it actually helps boost my metrics so then more people can find it. Again, if you know somebody who is actively on the house hunt, make sure to share this episode with them because it will reinforce with them that it is so possible. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day. And as usual, keep being the amazing you that you are. See you next time.
Hey love, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you adored what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review on the platform you are listening to this episode on. By doing this, you are helping my mission to impact other women with their healing journeys. If you aren't already following me on social media, make sure to connect with me at Sarita Wellness to get your weekly dose of inspiration. I can't wait to be with you in the next episode, but in the meantime, keep being the amazing you that you are.